Welcome to the live stream, Vlog Thursday number 432, NAS chat, because there's a lot to talk about. And yeah, it is. I see comments in here by people that don't like things. Watching a video is optional. There's no obligation to it. Leaving a comment is optional. You know, at least in terms of what. Whatever, people are entitled to their opinion. I'm not, anyways, not worried about that today. What I am concerned about, that I did a video on just the other day, that is a fascinating video on Synology. I can't share, because nothing's public yet. I did let Synology know that I think they should put a better press release out. That's all I, I'll just say that much about Synology right now. I mean, they may have their reasons for stuff, and I think I made my stance, and certainly all of you made your stance clear on Synology. For anyone that didn't watch the video yesterday, it's Synology further locking down their ecosystem with their drives based on a press release that I completely said there could be some misinterpretation. I'm looking forward to a clarification from Synology. I feel that they will respond. And this is the thing. I am not here to try to, just complain about things. I really want to see change. I think my opinion, but I don't run Synology, my opinion of what should be done. And this can mean really simple, like menu, like, hey, you're not using drives on our supported list. For best results, use these drives. For less than best results, use these other drives. And I think that's better, because I always like to give people a choice. I like to think of you, the audience, or in Synology's case, you, the buyers. I treat all those people, and people are sometimes buyers of my things because I sell services. And I always treat people with kindness, respect, and assume that they're very intelligent. And I will carefully tell them, like, hey, here's the choices you have to make around this. And with Synology, when people don't like is going, hey, here's a very limited list. Now, I think it should be really clear up front, and hopefully Synology, if they go in this direction of locking things down, they make it as clear as possible to everybody, because they should. That way, when and it's like this phone. I don't get to choose the drive that's in this phone. There is storage in this phone. I choose it knowing fully that I will buy this phone. I cannot change the storage in it. It will come with the storage. And that is it. And I think that's fine. If you sell me a NAS that can only have a limited amount of configuration, that's fine too, because that's, as long as I know up front and it's really clear, and there's no, hey, I tried to put a drive in it and it doesn't seem to work. It won't let me do the thing I want to do. That's where consumers are going to get angrier about things. And I feel, based on what was an official press release, even though it was German reinterpreted, it was still an official statement on their site. And obviously that caused a lot of concern with people. And I still think Synology makes a good product. The most common in many comments like this, hey, how do I replace the active backup? Matter of fact, I think that's one of the best selling features of a Synology. Not just active backup for business that backs to the computers, but active backup that can back up your Outlook, like your Office 365 environment, active backup like I use, and I back up my Google environment with it. I will tell you, if I crunch the numbers here, and depending on the size of the company, buying the Synology drives that are only compatible with it, compared to licensing for some other cloud service. I mean, technically there's licensing and everything. What is a license? You're paying for software development through some type of license. Well, Synology is building in the license, if you will. You're paying, because of course, someone will always point out, but Synology doesn't have the best hardware out there. They're not using the top of the line. You're not wrong. It's not the most performant hardware compared to some of the other companies for a similar price, but you're getting some really good software with it. And I got to admit, stability-wise, Synology's solid. It does, as predicted, what it says it does. I've been using Synology for years. I will tell you that their NVR system, I never have a problem with my NVR. It just works. The Synology Active Backup, been working for years for backing up computers. The Synology Active Backup for Business one, the backup of your, office environments. Awesome. Works great. And there's a few other cool tools in there. Synology Photos, been using that for years. So I think you have to take that into, uh, you know, when you're doing the calculation. Now, for the home users that go, I like to tinker and be more flexible. Yeah, that's definitely not great there, but it is what it is. I don't have an easier answer to that, but I'm hoping Synology will, come out and make a statement, if they will, and say, hey, you know, there are things we said, and maybe we want to make an option. I mean, just make it optional. Say, I understand. I'm a Homelab person who will rig this thing up. I'm going to SSH in. I'm going to do some stuff, and just accept that. And I think that's just where the happy middle is. Treat your customers well. Give your customers some choices, and yeah, pretty simple. At least that's what I think. I'm sure some of you, yeah. People commenting that don't like the content and engagement. Yes, it does. It helps the YouTube algorithm let you know that it's an engaging piece of content. We're trying to diversify and have more content on the channel. I know some people are going to be very upset by that. Honestly, if YouTube wanted to fix the content problem, and I have a content problem big time because of what I do, and the content problem really is people come, and I'll give you an example, because I got to bring this up every time now. Did you know Tom found radon in his house? So this is the AirNet sensor, not sponsored at all by AirNet, but this is an example of my content problem from my perspective. I looked up and learned about radon. I learned about radon mitigation. I learned about what they do for radon mitigation. I found a YouTube channel that has an amazing array of radon mitigation content. Thought it was great. Watched it. I never subscribed. The guy suggested I subscribe, in all the videos I watched. I'm not going to subscribe because you know what? On Friday, I got a guy coming out. Turns out the other guy was too far away. I would have hired him to do radon mitigation at my house. I found a company local that is going to come out Friday, and I will then keep this sensor to make sure I have no more new radon. And yep, that's it. I'm not going to watch that video anymore. Many people come to watch my content because they need help with TrueNAS permissions, setting up a pfSense. It's really hard. I'm thankful for each and every one of you that have taken the time to click that subscribe button. That's amazing. But honestly, I think subscribers are something like 10% of my viewers or something. I don't know the number at the top of my head. I can pull it up in my YouTube stats, but that's the real challenge when it comes to being a content creator, is unless you're doing something like where you follow the person because they create not tech videos usually, but like an episodic thing. You're following their life adventures through backpacking, through their life with their pets or whatever. I have a cousin that does that. Those are easier to get subscribers because you want to follow. You want to know what the next step of their journey is. It's an episodic adventure. Here's a tutorial on how to do a thing. Maybe you subscribe because sometimes I suggest something you didn't know about previously. But honestly, once you're running XCP-ng and you already know it, do you keep watching my videos? Or what if you're not even a TrueNAS user? Do you even watch every time Tom drops a TrueNAS video? I know people that unsubscribe because I get those counts. I'll see a new video I post and I'll watch people unsubscribe from the content. So that's why we're diversifying the content to have more solutions that people, have out there. It's Tom's long rant on that topic. I think about the direction they may be going with the drives. I get them wanting to reduce support burden, but I guess I'll have to increase my own support burden by not using them. Yeah, I mean, just let people know like this. Maybe change the support you get. Let people know. Then you've given people the choice, and I think that's the important part. A little bit of misinterpretation, but wrong direction. Yep. Here's the thing. My Synology NAS is only connected at 1 gig. I know I could put a faster card in it because it's one that supports it. But you know what? It makes the initial backup take longer, and then it doesn't matter to me. And by the way, the initial backup taking longer doesn't really matter to me much because once it's backed up, it's incremental after that. So it just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me much. What do we move to at the price point Synology sits? QNAP has its own issues. Everything else seems much more expensive. That's a tough one. There's not like an easy, well-trusted solution out in the market if you need those apps. When it comes to block and file storage, honestly, TrueNAS is amazing. Depending on what you build it with, price is going to vary greatly when you're building a TrueNAS system. Synology thinks they have a big lead and now they're getting trouble. Well, this is the challenge for any company. And I'm not trying to just defend them here, but I'm just trying to be very rational. Home users are certainly where people will start learning about products. And this is where companies sometimes lose a little sight of it, but it is where they learn. But where the company makes their money is those enterprise projects. Where the disconnect really comes in is when they don't realize that a lot of the home users, including me and including many of you, we have jobs in the IT field. And we will definitely, if we use something in the home that also has a bigger version with the same interface, and that's the cool thing about Synology, their 2-bay system, as well as their large, $20,000 system has pretty much the same interface on it and works the same. So yeah, you're kind of right. They're sitting on their hands if they don't understand that. I don't understand why you'd push it down to those. They just think not enough home users would be affected by this because home users don't buy the plus models, but I think they do. They know their stats better than I do. I'm just going to be what I talk to people, and me talking to people doesn't really qualify for one simple reason. Tom makes Synology videos, so of course people talk to Tom about Synology. UniFi XG XGS back in stock. Awesome. I don't know if this full Broadcom path. I think it's a misunderstanding of the market. That's my opinion, but it's hard to say. If you don't look for radon in my house, then it doesn't have radon. True. Some areas absolutely require it. I learned that a few areas talking to people I know, there's some responses are, it's just part of when you build any new house, it requires a radon mitigation system. Didn't know that. This is a new house built 5 years ago, not a requirement here. Asus over Synology. I don't know much about the Asus software, and that's one of the real challenge. I don't have an answer for that. Yeah, I don't know how good their software is. This is where TrueNAS, a notch above, 45 drives Houston. We had a discussion about that in my forums just this morning. I don't have anything against Houston. I've tested it, but people ask, does it compare to TrueNAS? And it's like, well, Houston is being developed and is a really cool thing with basically the reef. Someone will always point out, but Tom, isn't Houston cockpit with some extra features? Yes, but those extra features mean quite a bit. They've got some really nice controls for ZFS, but it's not as polished as TrueNAS. So it's the easiest way to say it. And I'm a big fan of 45 drives. I'm a huge supporter of everything they do because of their engagement and willing to give things away to the open source community. But yeah, I don't know how good the ASUS stuff is. TrueNAS IX Systems removed iSCSI. Was iSCSI over RDMA? I don't think that was TrueNAS. I don't think that was a feature. I think that was a feature request. So let's read together. I'm curious about this. I think someone left a comment like that over there. TrueNAS does not support RDMA at this time. Yeah, I didn't think it did. They added it. They added it for NFS in their enterprise one. So yes, I know for NFS they did, but for iSCSI, I don't think so. And based on this forum post, I never remember ever seeing support for it. So feel free to email me at homelab@launchsystems.com if I'm wrong or you have a link to their support for it. You have 3 pluses at home. I buy the plus models and have an RS Plus in my lab rack at home. Awesome. Migrated from core to scale. I've noticed that the credentials user page is broken. Looks like to do with the hidden old SMB. Have you seen anything like this? I have not, but I've definitely seen where it caches it, and that can be a problem. Oddly, I don't, the way is it AngularJS they use? I forget what they're using, but it seems to get stuck in a weird cache mode. And I've seen people not be able to log in. It just flush the cache in a browser, F5 a few times, and it'll start working. Yes, Cory Doctorow, and I love Cory Doctorow's books and everything. And in Shitification, I am thrilled that book will be coming out soon. Do you have a recommendation for a Homelab price point? 2U 12 by 35 bay chassis. I currently have a 4 bay QNAP sitting on the rack, taking up too much physical height. I want to start looking into more smaller rack mount ones. I don't know which are good. So if someone has some suggestions of ones to review, homelab@lawrencesystems.com. I don't mind looking into them, or at least having a list. I will post them in my forum. I don't know that I'll order them and do a video. I have too many NASs right now. So yeah. Hey, Tom, been watching an interview with you and John Todd over at Quad 9 over the benefits of using Quad 9. But my question is, can it block DNS query snooping, sniffing? Snooping, sniffing would be if you're using port 53. If you're using encrypted DNS, the traffic would be encrypted, that therefore no one would be sniffing or snooping it. So it's a you question in terms of, are you making those requests encrypted? If they're encrypted, then someone wouldn't know what you're doing. If they are unencrypted, then yeah. This came up this morning in one of my other group chats. VMware ESXi free again. What do you think? My immediate response was it's a trap meme, because I don't think anyone really trusts VMware, or should, or trust Broadcom more specifically. It's kind of like, we pulled the rug and we got all your money because we raised the prices. Oh crap, people left. People weren't supposed to leave. They left. What do we do next? Put the rug back slowly. Tell them it's free. When do we pull it again? As soon as we get them back. I don't trust them. Do you have a basement? We have a Radon system as well. Yes, I do. And I am in that basement right now. Has there been any issues noted about the 25.4 update? Actually, I've updated all of my systems. I think I've updated 6 systems and all of them are working fine. So I haven't seen any issues yet. Oh yeah, when I open a window, 0.38, that window is open. Window not open goes all the way to 8. That's bad. Comments about the MikroTik RDS 2216. RDS, is that the Rose server? Yeah, the Rose Data RDS. That thing's cool. How's that for a comment? It's really neat. Maybe I'll talk to them, or I want to learn more about it. I think it would be really cool if TrueNAS had the support for it. That would be really cool. Yeah, it's the Rose NAS. pfSense CE Community Edition 2.8 is in beta right now, so it's up to you if you want to move. This company is interesting too. Let me pull these up. I kind of like the military look they have. I don't really want to review them, but they do have storage chassis that come in 3U. 4U and 3U. So it doesn't meet the 2U request, but this is a 4U chassis. Now, the only thing someone argued with me that this is a toolless design, and it's not. It still requires these little things. I'm going to call them screws, because technically they screw into the hard drive. They're guides that you put on the drive. See little guides they have on there? So that didn't zoom in at all. Well, Zoom's broken. Anyways, they have these guides on. So outside of not being toolless, I think it's a cool looking case, and this may be an option for you. This is a company called SLIGER, and they make different cases here. They have quite a few different cases, but specifically they have a bunch of storage chassis. I like that they offer Noctua fans, though. Noctua fans, rails, white, black, red, and blue, so you can pick your colors. Not bad there. Parts, specs. They make a 4U version here, too. So there's your for you, which is okay. That's for the NVMe drive. I was like, why is it blocked like that? Now I get it. That makes sense. So these look like a nice option. We can put a CD-ROM in it. How's that? Feeling old school. Yeah, 8's just a little high. I think it means Tom was irradiating himself. Nubbins. We'll call him Nubbins. It's, the challenge with a camera server isn't the case. It's always the software. NAS softwares, there's not any. I mean, as much as I'd love to tell you, by the way, use this software. It's the most amazing open source NVR software. And I know someone's going to point out that there's some that exist out there, but none of them I've seen at all are anywhere close to as polished as what you can get from UniFi or Synology. And I know a lot of people like Blue Iris. My problem with Blue Iris is that it runs on Windows, and I'm not a big fan of running Windows for an NVR. But if you want to, you can. I wish Blue Iris wasn't on Windows. That would be actually really cool. We had a lot of problems with our case. Is it Sliger? I'm assuming we're going to call him Sliger for lack of knowing how to pronounce it. Sent wrong items, charges more because of a stock issue for the Rails. Took way too long to ship. The actual product worked great, though. Yeah, so it sounds like they have some stepping on their feet problems for shipping, but at least the product worked. You just installed TrueNAS Scale on a Netgear RN. Let's look that one up because I don't know that model. RN626. RN626. Interesting. So that's these. Huh. I need to figure out what to do with, I have at least one, maybe two. I got to sort this out because I know one of the employees wants one of them, but I have my old TrueNAS. I don't think anyone wants because it's a two core, not dual CPU, 2 cores only, Atom processor, one of the first gen ones. I don't know if I should keep it for nostalgia or give it to someone. It's too slow to really use. It's not practical anymore. So I took it out of service. It's just kind of chilling right now. I got to figure out what to do with that one. I took the drives out of it today to put them in another one. Is this the company that people use to move their gaming desktops in a rack? That'd be interesting. Could be. Still stuck on UniFi Protect cameras enough. I got to admit, I'm working on a new video for them, and I just really like the UniFi stuff because it works so well. So you have access cameras, and you also have, what's that other company? We used to work with them with some school districts. The name's on the tip of my tongue. They're owned by Tyco, if I'm not mistaken. Tyco bought the company, and it is a really popular security software. It has licenses. It's all, closed source and whatnot, but it runs on Linux. I thought that was pretty cool. It's been a long time since I looked at it. I can't not remember the name of it. But that was the whole reason. That was why I always thought it was cool, is that other software you could use for it. You could use ZFS because you could load it in really any system. No, Tyco Security. So hold on. Tyco Security is a different company than Tyco Electronics. Tyco Security. What is the name of that product? Been forever since we had some schools. Exact Vision. That was it. Exact Vision. but they make fancy video surveillance stuff that's real expensive. But Exact Vision, I don't know if this is still true. It was like 5 years ago when we were servicing it. It was kind of cool because you bought the license and it lets you run whatever. You could run it on Linux. You could run it on Windows. This is really hard to do. This is where UniFi thought they were going to succeed as well. Let's go ahead and offer the software so people can just load it. And I know Exponology exists, but it's really not the same as the full Synology. Supporting lots of different hardware has a lot of challenges to it. So you have to be careful going down that road. One of the real challenges UniFi had that there's just no way around it. People were, and I was selling consulting, so I can tell you my consulting problems I had with it. People were dragging whatever old computer they had based on the theory that Linux will run on anything. It'll run on a potato. Yeah, but it will not run your 20 cameras on that potato. So all the consulting constant issues I was running into was people and their systems and not being adequate for it. So because UniFi let you load up that old Pentium 3 system with the UniFi software, doesn't mean it can support all those cameras. That's where a lot of these companies do that. Not to mention, Synology's kind of built their business around the fully integrated experience. And part of the reason Synology is so stable is they're only troubleshooting their own hardware problems, not your hardware problems. That's from a support standpoint. I kind of get that. This is the challenge with pfSense. There's a ton of people who have problems because they put incompatible hardware in a pfSense. So the reasons for businesses, I tell them, just buy the pfSense box if you wanted to just set it and forget it and work. Buy the Netgate box itself, because if you buy their hardware, you're going to get the latest updates from the pfSense Plus version. You won't have compatibility issues with updates, and it just works. When you start, I built this thing out of spare parts and now it's not consistent. I must be pfSense that sucks. Very frequently after we do some consulting, we find out it's not. Same thing. This is especially people with, I'm going to build my own TrueNAS and use it for my business. Fine. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying you got to really take into consideration what you build it with, because that is another consulting rabbit hole of it doesn't perform like I expected. I'm like, did you use consumer drives to save money? Yeah. Should I not have? Me and Jude from Clara Systems watched that discussion with me and him, where in Clara Systems is a lot of specialized ZFS consulting. And immediately he brings up, because we were talking about this, we talked about the challenge of consulting with people who have DIY'd their way into trouble because they didn't really think about what it takes, or listen to 2.5 Admins, where this is at least once a month on their podcast brought up about the DIY world. And sometimes it's more DIY. Why did you do this? ZFS is the winner all day versus Btrfs. I don't like being part of a monoculture. I'll fully admit that, but also I don't know the solution because I haven't seen a file system as well developed, as well supported as ZFS. So because I don't have that as an answer, I would love to tell you that, their Btrfs is coming along and it's almost as stable. It's not bad. It just doesn't do things as well as it's an adequate file system, depending on how you use it. My understanding could be wrong here based on me listening to people talk about it, is there's just some issues with the way it handles RAID. Matter of fact, back to Synology. This is why Synology chooses to use Linux RAID to manage drives, and Btrfs is the file system on top of that. So that seems to be a good solution that seems quite stable in the Synology world. Oh man, I built some really nice Ubiquiti NVRs. So yes, you can definitely do it. I did like that quite a bit. I had an aftermarket security camera connect to my UniFi network, and it saved to my Synology. Yeah, you can do some fun stuff. XFS is fine. I don't know anything wrong with XFS. I think it's the default for Red Hat. Someone can correct me on that. But yeah, I just prefer, if I'm going to do large scale storage, ZFS has all the features that I want. So that's why I keep recommending it. It's like, where do I trust things? Yes. I ran into a company a couple months ago that still had OG UniFi cameras. Awesome. Let's talk about this for a moment. This is what's actually in the photo for the thumbnail, because this is the OpenNAS. I like that they chose OpenNAS. That makes it just, I don't know, I liked it. But let's go over to, I have a couple pictures of it. So that's what it looks like. It's kind of a beast. This fan's not in there straight, but that appears to be the type of fan it is. There's a lot of USB on this as well. There are 2 display ports, 1 HDMI, and I'm going to need to get my fingers out to count that many USB. And we have a PS2. So let's zoom in just to admire all those USB ports. Let's just stare at that for a moment and think about it. That's a lot of USB, folks. Anyways, the details, of course. I mean, I'll share this because they have the details that are on their site. OpenNAS.com. They sent me this, so full disclosure, but all the specs are here. They have several different models, so it depends on what model you get. I believe this is the one I have, is the R12 Pro. I've not done much with it yet, but I think that they have their pricing public on here, by the way. So all, everything you want to know is here. Now, I will admit, I have on mine, let me find the picture. I put the rails on the side, and on their site, they're not showing that, but it does have those. It's kind of neat. I kind of like it because it's like a beast of a NAS, but it's also really big. So, I mean, the idea is there's plenty of fans, and if you wanted to throw some cards in this, some larger cards, and do some video encoding and things like that, this would be your media beast. Will you change your Synology with your TrueNAS system, or will you wait HEDs and Sonato until Synos die completely? Well, right now, the calculation I'm using, and this is the formula I mentioned earlier. How much does the licenses cost to back up the things I want? The active backup for business that backs up all my Google things, that backs up my Google business, and all the active backup, like my Windows computers, like my Windows gaming laptop. What is it? What is those licensing costs? Do they exceed what a Synology costs? That's my formula. I think Synology does a great job with the active backup for business and Synology Photos, which I know I need to move to an open source one because there's some good stuff out there. And I really want to, it is on my to-do list to move my 92, or no, it's more than that now. It's gotta be, I probably broke 100,000 now, 100,000 photos that I have in Synology's photo system, and move them over to an open source one. That is on my goal list. It's just a lot of files, and I've got them all organized in Synology, and I don't think there's going to be any way to take that organization and bring it over. But yeah, Synology Photos has just worked, and I use Google Photos for the business, but my personal stuff, and I don't know why I have that many photos. It's just, that's 25 over 25 years. My first camera, for anyone wondering, Sony Mavica. Yes, the one with the floppies. If anyone wants to go down history lane, I'm sure there's some YouTubers that have some of those. But yeah, I've been collecting photos since I stored them on floppies. Hey, just in time for Taco Thursday lunch break. So Taco Thursday. Nice. Not sure if you mentioned, I had to step away from it, but Frigate NVR with Google Coral, Edge TPUs, has seen some crazy detection rates and abilities. I think it's really cool. I like where they're going. I'm hoping someone puts together a nice NVR setup. Like really either Frigate gets a strong development team that polishes up a nice UI and makes it super easy as some of the other NVRs. Awesome if that happens. But to the same extent, I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon. Other people, you know, I with retro name, I'm going to go with yes, you probably still have. You said had, but I bet there's probably still at least one older floppy camera floating around. The problem with ZFS is that's not included in Linux kernel. Have you used EKMS? What does TrueNAS do? TrueNAS is built custom, so I assume they just build it all in. And I don't think it's really a problem. I mean, Linux and ZFS go together quite well, so I don't really see that as an issue. You've learned a lot from my videos. Awesome. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Yeah, Frigate. I mean, I've seen people fully deployed frigates, and it's really cool. It's the journey there. It's not so, and it's a hobby project. It's not something like you would see commercial support for or someone selling commercial support for right now. Maybe in the future, be awesome. But I'll give it, like I said, I'll give a shout out to these folks at OpenNAS. I'll do the review on the product. I'm testing it right now, and so far it works. I got TrueNAS loaded on it. Up to 15 4K videos. I mean, it's got some cool support for it. They even have U2 support. Like, I think they built a pretty it's running right now behind me. You're not even picking up any noise. There's no noise cancellation on this particular microphone other than proximity kind of is noise cancellation for this type of mic. But I don't even worry about it being on. It's on my bench in my office versus the bench that's outside my office for loud things because it's so quiet. So they did a nice job of moving a lot of air. The thing I obviously, many of you are probably already noticed going, that thing's big. And yes, that thing is big is one of the challenges with it for sure. My boss thought I only turn wrenches. Today he learned what happens when the DNS server gets taken offline. Don't think he's going to mouth off anymore. Yeah, fun stuff. But my TrueNAS systems so far, let me log into one of them. Hold on, I forgot. There we go. I'm trying to remember which one I wanted to log into. I upgraded all of them right when it came out. So they've been running since yesterday with the upgrade. Yeah, one day, 4 hours ago. This was, I think, the last one I updated. But this is the one that runs all my videos, only because I had stuff that was in the mix of recording, but like all the snapshots are working. All the replication tests, all working fine because this sends data off site. So all of these are working fine. I haven't found any problems at all with the new version. I had some app updates, all seem to work fine. Didn't have any issues there. I don't run too many apps on my TrueNAS. I kind of just run things on my TrueNAS that need to be run on my TrueNAS. I figure sync thing, rsync, min.io, absolutely. I was just playing with glances. I don't love glances. I just thought it was novel. That's what it looks like, if anyone's wondering. It's okay. Gives me some information. You know, it surprises me because this is an old CPU in here. This is an Intel Atom C3758. This little box has been chugging away for years. I mean, that's an old CPU, but I'm still editing 4K 30 is what my videos are recorded at, which of course it'd be bigger if it was 4K 60, but either way, I'm not struggling. It's not choking on this. It's not fast. This processor's from 2017. Wow, that's old. Just seeing your comment here. You just joined OpenNAS, OpenNAS. So this is a pretty cool box. The website is OpenNAS.com. So there's 2 N's. If you search for OpenNAS, it finds it. Learn early not to tick off IT, HR, or the IRS. Yes. The wonderful IR. I wrote was today 17th? Yeah, 2 days ago I wrote my big check. It was painful. It was painful. I got mine updated before Tom did. Well, it depends which ones. I updated some of them right away, but that was the last one I think to get updated. Tried to update TrueNAS Core to scale. It seems like Windows Shadow Copy does not recognize my old snapshots from Core. Double check to make sure it should. That's just a SMB setting. Make sure the checkbox is set in your settings, but it should. And sometimes just stopping and starting SMB fixes it. But generally speaking, it should recognize the snapshots. I don't think they're any different. So yeah, what does TrueNAS actually do as part of my video editing? I don't edit on my local drives at all. I edit everything on my share on TrueNAS. So everything, all of my videos live in 2 different data sets. Well, actually 2 different pools too. So this is the LTS video data set, which has any active project that I'm working on, because it's a flash array, so it's faster, so we call it flashy. And then the video archive is right here. And the video archive has about 5 terabytes of things there. Can you increase your withholding so you can get a small refund rather than paying a large check? It's much more complicated than that because I own 2 businesses. So I first have my payroll check from each company. So I have a regular payroll that does have withholdings, and I do a maximum contribution to my 401k. Then I have whatever profit the business has comes through as capital gains. So I end up, if you don't know exactly, and the goal is to always make the business profitable, but sometimes you don't know how profitable it would be. So you end up paying the capital gains on the realized earnings from the business that come through. So taxes are fun. If it was a matter of just me being a payroll person, it'd be simple. But the fact that I own 2 businesses, which gives me 2 separate K1 forms to deal with for pass-through profits, it makes it complicated. And then my wife does really well. So she also is paid partially on her bonuses. And what happens is sometimes you get pushed into a new tax bracket because your bonus was too big. That's a problem, because then your withholdings wasn't enough. It was based on what you thought, not what you realized, because you did really good and your sales were too good and you got a really big bonus. So taxes are complicated. You get a new tax bracket, which means you pay more in taxes, which means that big bonus is not less. Somebody needs to bring out a beautiful NAS case. All current ones look pretty rough around the edges. Johnsbow. I'm gonna look that one up. J-O. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I think the 45 drives ones are still my favorite because they're toolless. So I don't know. I mean, if you're going to have it on your desk, yeah, that's a different topic. But I think the 45 drive ones, even on your desk, look good. I did the review recently of the 45 drives boxes, and I got no complaints. I mean, I think they're nice. But when you're talking about aesthetics at some point where people are just not going to agree because it's aesthetics. Where's my 45 drives case picture? Like, to me, this looks fine, but you know, someone's going to go, I don't like it. I don't like how the OpenNAS doesn't have support for an easy way to find contact info on their website. Oh, yeah. They're in early development. So, yes. I had to manually download an update for both my TrueNAS boxes. I keep getting error when trying to check for updates. Interesting. Sounds like you have DNS or your gateway settings wrong. Those are the most common reasons for that. I don't have much of an opinion on Sophos. I've never used them. I'll say this. Sophos, I will say, when they have had flaws in their firewall, they have stood behind it and made lots of updates to it. So good on them. They seem to be on top of things. They aren't in the news every day for flaws, which is good. Unlike our friends at FortiGate who are wearing clown shoes. Can you recommend an RJ45 10 gig net card for TrueNAS scale? I have an SFP, was cobbled together from another job. I keep expecting it to fall out of my home NAS and rather use a different switch. I do not recommend the RJ45 10 gig unless you really need it, but I imagine the Intel ones should be fine. I always prefer SFP. That's my opinion, because they're way less heat and DAC is relatively inexpensive. But if you insist on using RJ45, the Intel ones should work fine, to my knowledge. Yeah, the 45 drives HL8 also nice too. Ah, yes. Dancing those little nuances and making sure you don't land in the wrong tax bracket. Yeah. The bonus is for the IRS. True. Yeah. Electric vehicles, there's different ways you can do it. You don't So here's the weird thing. If you write off your electric vehicle in your company, you can get it as a write-off. But if you do that, you can't also get the tax credit. At least when I bought mine. I don't know if they changed the rules again. Okay, someone confirming the Intel 10 gig ones work fine. I figured they would. I think a couple of my TrueNASs have 10 gig built in the motherboard, and I'm pretty sure it's Intel. But all of mine are connected with DAC. Matter of fact, even my 45 drives, where's the picture of that one? My little HL8 is also, well, there's at least me and Matt standing on it. The HL8, I popped a DAC card in it right away. That's how it's hooked up. And there's a little HL4. Debian versus TrueNAS. What is less complex in terms of software stack? I prefer to keep my systems as stupid as I am. I mean, here's the thing. Can you just run Debian and do the things you do in TrueNAS? Yes, all from the command line. There's not really any web UI to do it. So if you're going, hey, I'm someone who knows and I'm very comfortable with the command line and managing ZFS and managing Samba or whatever things you're trying to do, fantastic. Then you can use just Debian. I get that people want to do it. I don't fault people for wanting to do that. The reason I don't do it is TrueNAS makes it way less steps. If someone were to, I mean, it's not that you can't. If you put the time into it, you could build some fancy automation like TrueNAS has to say, I want to replicate all the data from here over to there. And if you do that there's definitely people who are really fast at doing it from the command line. And there's nothing stopping you. But the reason most people want web UIs is because I don't do ZFS every day. Therefore, even if I was doing it from the command line, most of my TrueNAS boxes outside of YouTube videos, they're kind of a set it and forget it. I just don't even log into them all the time. I'm just expecting them to do what they do and notify me if there's a problem, like a drive going bad. Any worries about using SSDs and NAS concerning IOPS life? Do NVMe drives have better lifespan? I don't think it's that big of a deal. People over-index thinking that they'll wear out. Now, definitely, if you have which ones have the triple layer? I can't remember which ones they are. The consumer ones that are higher density, IOPS is going to be bad on them. And this goes for most consumer drives. The storage density is high, but the performance is never good, but they generally last quite a while. You can look up, some people have done some long-term testings, and it's surprising how long the NVMEs and just solid state drives in general last. They last quite a while. They're not usually where the problem is. I've had mine, my TrueNAS for, let's see, does it tell me in here if I look at the managed disks? Does it tell me how many hours any of these disks have? I guess I'd have to look up one of the disks to see the hours. I've got a lot of hours on these, and I've never had any problem. I have another set of them that have a ton of hours as well. I'd have to go through the smart status and figure that out, but I've just not had any fail. Well, I have a consumer one that was a used drive we pulled out of an old system. Customers recycling stuff. We pulled the drives out, and I was building a NAS with it. The NAS build was with some old equipment we had, and yeah, the drive has some errors on it. So I can't say that there's zero errors on them, but it's not often. I still feel like I have more failures of HDDs. So why DAC over SFP plus fiber? Costs, DACs are thick. Not all DACs are thick. Depends on the length. A lot of the other ones are pretty thin, and they're not much. Even the thick ones aren't that dramatically different than fiber. Although I will admit, comparatively speaking, because you can cut RJ45 to length, you can usually make a really clean RJ45 with exactly the right length you need. Synology active backup for VPN over a VPN. Does it work? Maybe. I don't know how well it's going to work, but it should. I would not do it over WAN. Over a VPN should work. You just got to figure out your bandwidth calculation. How fast is the VPN? What is the data run rate? What I mean by that is how much data changes a day or week, and how often are you backing up? Can your VPN handle that? I have a friend running cameras over a VPN, but he also has a symmetrical 10 gig connection to the clients that have a few cameras. So can it be done? Sure. If you have the bandwidth for it. And you have to have the bandwidth on both sides. Tom Health Check. Have you touched your bike or not? Yes, I have. Tom has been out doing motorcycle things. So yes, I didn't touch the grass hard. I just rode across the grass. So me and my little Honda scooter have been wandering around. QLC, that's the ones I was thinking of. Those are the ones that are probably less ideal because of the way the QLC works. I think those ones will wear out a lot faster. Yeah, I think DAC over fiber for a lot of people in most situations would be good. Yep, DAC in the rack. That's it. It doesn't just rhyme; it makes sense. I think I did a video on the exact topic. I like DAC because when it fails, I don't have to determine if it's a cable or which one of the two SFPs. I just replace the DAC and we're golden. I've had a couple DACs fail. It's not often, but I've had them fail. I don't understand what causes it, but yeah. XCP&G is a great product. What do you recommend for some place as a small nonprofit with a all volunteer staff for full VDI and storage stack? I mean, it works. You can use XCP&G for just that. I don't understand. I mean, if you like Proxmox, use that. Either one are good solutions. Proxmox, I don't dislike it. I think it's amazing for its ability to tinker. I feel for businesses though, because of the way the updates are a little, I have found them, and there'll be a big split every time I say this. I have watched Proxmox break boxes on updates for major versions, and there's always someone, but Tom, it never has done that to me. And then a bunch of people going, yeah, mine broke, but it was just a bunch of Linux things I had to fix. Is this about building a network in your home, or sorry, curious, but I have no clue what you are talking about? Yes, I build networks in my home. Yes, I build networks for enterprise companies and data centers and everything else in between. So I take questions on all of it. I usually put in the title here, it says NAS chat and Homelab Q&A, because I think a lot of people are going to ask me Homelab questions, but Homelabs are very frequently, because it defines so much. What is a Homelab? And I really like, and I talked about this last week, Linus Tech Tips did a Reddit R Homelab review. There's no defining home labs. It is whatever your home lab is a place where you experiment with things, because there's some people that have spent $300,000 or more building out their insane home labs. And it is a place where they do things. I don't know what he does. Maybe someone, because I've just not taken the time to look. Digital Spaceport. That's a YouTube channel that I know has an insane lab. I don't know what he does with that lab though. Let me pull it up so people know what I'm referring to. I think it's called Digital Spaceport. Like, I know some of his videos are about, let's see. He's doing some type of Olama stuff right now. But his whole lab setup is huge.
Switch problems can really bring.
So there's just, see if he's got a full view of it. I've seen some of his,
and get
a wide picture here.
UniFi network solution.
It's big though. He's got a ton of, I don't know what he does though, but nonetheless, if you're interested in that, I guess it's a home lab, right? Have you found new things to self-host? I have not. I need to do that. Yeah, XCP&G is really an appliance, and that's how I feel about it. So yeah, he used to farm Chia until the crypto tank. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Jeff CTO, that lab's insane. I've talked to him. Quite impressive if you haven't seen Jeff CTO lab. Let me pull that one up.
My friends, I did a video back.
I will just share the video and the links here because it's insane. I mean, his house is far nicer than mine, but I'll throw this in here if you haven't seen it. This isn't just your average, like, okay, this is his power grid. And we're going to jump to the actual lab here in a second after we go through the power grid. This is a wild thing. So he calls this a home lab. Yeah, I mean, I'll reach out to Digital Spaceport. I've seen a couple of his videos come up, so. Yeah. Reddit home data center. But anyways, I have the link in here. I posted. People can click on it. It's Jeff CTO He seems like a really nice guy. He doesn't have a ton of videos. It just tours of his lab and talks about what he does in here. He has an insane lab with some neat things he's doing. Lots of breakdowns on how he did it, but yeah, he also does some car builds so. Is he running his business? It's not exactly, no. He's a CTO for a huge company. This is his lab. Yeah, his stuff's really clean. Really nice work on it. Even the cabling on the back is not too bad. I mean, for the amount of stuff he has, it's still reasonable. He's done a nice job. It's all color coded. He doesn't, he just has a couple card videos. He's not like a regular poster of things. He just has a few things on there, but they're worth checking out. Seems like a really smart guy. He's posted on Reddit too. If his home lab looks like that, his bar for his guys at the office, keep it clean. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to be doing my friend. He runs his business out of the basement. And it's impressive. I've talked about this before. My friend who runs StreamYard. Yeah, Mike's got some cool stuff, and I'm going to be doing some videos on it because it's just, I mean, I like the lights and everything that he's got on here. It's just nice work. I bought lights. They're sitting over there. I need to install them on my home lab too, because lights make the bits go faster. Yay. Oh man. My lab has lights, but they've started to flicker. Yeah, I'm just doing some LED stuff. Stuff I bought from Amazon. I think it'll be fine. Probably the same stuff that he's got there. Then, of course, I will be tying it to my Home Assistant so I can control everything like I do here. All my lights here that you see behind me around the office. I've done my office tour before, and it's all Home Assistant controlled. He actually breaks down the power. I think he's got another video where he breaks down power usage because yeah, he's got quite a few cars too. One of these videos, he breaks down the power he uses. I don't know. You can search on his channel. Jeff's CTO Laboratory. A place where the Jeffs of the world make stuff and break stuff and shake stuff. I'm a technologist, engineer, scientist, semi-professional hobbyist. Ask questions. Like I say, he's got some neat stuff. But yeah, he does talk about just how many watts it uses in one of the videos. Because he has solar to offset all that. When you do the lights first, you think it's for aesthetic, but then you turn them white and you're working on something and realize the rack should have had a work light. Yes. I know. I'm going to probably put a work light because I don't have lights at the back of my rack. So I have a flashlight I bring if I have to do something at the back of the rack, and I'm going to install a lighting system for it. That is on my to-do list. How do you balance SSD and HDD performance, latency, and TrueNAS for 2 video editors working around 100 terabyte of storage with L2 ARC? Usually just throw lots of RAM in it. I believe we at least have one of our video editors with a terabyte of RAM in their TrueNAS. maybe a terabyte and a half. That's your best bet. And the RAM is just ideal. Now, video editing is kind of, I mean, not easy, but it can be more optimized for that. Well, I can't say can be. It is really optimized for that, because if the project file they're working on is only, whatever size it is, and they're editing a section of it, you can think about that and go, well, this fits in RAM. And in the case of my videos, let me pull up one of my videos and pull up the size of them, because I don't have that much RAM in mine, but it pulls, once it's pulled, it's all pulling out of cache. Now I'm pulling off of SSDs, so it's not that much, but like, let's see, which video? XCPNG best, 45 drives video, because it's got a ton of B-roll in it. That entire project is 37 gigs of files for the 45 drives NAS video I did. So 37 gigs, it's not going, and I'm not using all of it. The sections of those videos that are in the actual cut all got pushed to RAM, so it loads and pulls really, really fast. Yeah, I've seen a new MikroTik storage server. I think it's cool. I'm curious to see how it'll pan out. I think there's going to be a future where, is it called NVMe over IP? I think that's the right protocol name I've got. It'd be cool seeing, because I know that's something that has even been mentioned at the TrueNAS team, because that'd be great if we could just connect our devices, and MikroTik seems to be making an affordable solution on this. But I kind of like that idea that instead of plugging in a JBOD with a external NAS SAS cable, you're able to do it with over IP. Of course, that means building a really, really fast IP network, and that MikroTik storage server also has 100 gig on it. But it's really an NVMe over IP. It's not, and maybe I'm not understanding the product well enough, because I could be. I've not really read deeply into it, but you're talking about how do we get and interface it. It seems like there needs to be one more piece in between that does the interfacing on it. I'd like to add some more RAM to my R730 XT, but that stuff is not cheap. What are your thoughts on rack versus rack carrier? My open rack doesn't even have back rails, so I hold up the back of the servers with 2x4s. There is definitely a time years and years and years ago where I had acquired, and I mean, this is 2006 or 7. I didn't have any type of rack rails, so I went to the hardware store, and they have these little T brackets that got coincidentally the right alignment from the local hardware store to fit in the rack holes, and they were perfect to set them in rack holes. And they made a T that came across. I've just set the servers on it. I was doing production work like that for a while. It worked. It was affordable. When I started my business, I didn't have to go buy a bunch of what was expensive at the time, 2006 era. Noob question: accessing files on a server uses RAM. Well, more specifically, what happens is you are frequently, in the case of video editing, for example, you're going to say, here's these project files I need to edit this video. Once it's been read from the hard drives, the TrueNAS system will stick that in memory going, well, if you ask for it once, you'll probably ask again. And that's what happens. And it's just kind of a simple ARC cache is what is referred to, adaptive read cache. And adaptive read cache will hold on to that data. And every time you ask for the same data again, it just pulls it out of RAM, which is, of course, much faster than pulling it off the drive. That's a big advantage you have when you have a lot of RAM, because ZFS people make the mistake and go, hey, it's really RAM hungry. I'm like, no. It just says, if you gave me this much RAM, I'm going to put everything you asked for in the RAM. That way, if you ever ask for it again, you can have it. So kind of it's simple how that works. Question: are your thoughts on MikroTik or MikroTik? I hear them on their YouTube channel pronounce it MikroTik. So a Latvian person, and there's a debate in their own forums because they say MikroTik because that's an American pronunciation. So because they're speaking English, maybe not American, maybe just a general English pronunciation. There was a post in their forums, if you Google this, and it says when they're speaking in English, they will say micro tick. When they're speaking in, I don't know what their language, their native language, Latvian, I guess, they say micro tick, because micro tick is how it will be said to them in their native language. So it actually seems to have two pronunciations that are both correct. What is your go-to network monitoring tool? You know, my friend loves Observium, and I've been looking at it. I think that one's pretty cool. I use the UniFi dashboard for my stuff, but commercially, there are different tools out there. More, I don't know. I know a few people probably are using. I actually, I'd say definitely know people are using things like Observium in a business environment, but there's also tools from Domots that does network monitoring and mapping as well. Domots is pretty popular too. They've been a channel sponsor, full disclosure. I like them. They're nice people. You see that on pfSense, since they moved to ZFS, it uses a lot more RAM cache, but that can be changed. Libre NMS, that's another one I was trying to think of. I've seen a couple people do videos on it. I've not used that one. Zabbix is a lot more in depth, but Zabbix can do a lot more than just monitor that. So is it okay to use one of those NVMe 5 SATA ports for TrueNAS? Absolutely. That's why I did the video on it. I think they're pretty cool. Domots, sure. It's Domots with a Z, for anyone wondering. So it's DOMOTZ.com. Yeah, Zabbix is popular in production, but definitely it's a lot. Zabbix has a high learning curve. Has a good value when it's all set up and running, but it does have a steep learning curve. I just turn off IPv6, so actively avoid. Oh, I didn't know LibreNS is an Observium fork. Okay. I said I don't use either one. I've seen people talk about them, but I'm not, like I said, not proficient on them. But I use Iptraf for monitoring because it looks pretty and I can run it on SSH. Yes, Iptraf is cool. I thought I should do a video. I have a list of some terminal tools that are kind of fun for troubleshooting, and Iptraf is on that list. It's a neat tool. Closing down so many things open. As we talk, I just keep opening tabs. So eventually I got to close them all. There we go. Now my brain is back to fewer tabs. Yeah, I haven't done a rant about it recently, but there's I don't know, 2 or 3 maybe 4 live streams ago now, I did talk about IPv6 and just the slow adoption, or what I almost would call stalled adoption of IPv6. It got to here. It's like enough people have adopted it where it's here. It's not, people were hoping we would have the hockey stick adoption. Enough people do it and then boom, everyone has it. It just hasn't really offered enough benefits. There's not a business push for it. That's where the challenge is. If there was a business push where this will make your business more secure, this will make your business faster, that's what's not selling it. Matter of fact, this is a real challenge with IPv6. IP blocking. Matter of fact, we learned this when we were messing around doing some testing for the hackening stuff with Jason and Matt, a couple other friends, not this Matt, but my friend Cyber Matt Lee, if you want to look him up. We talked before. We have a video on here called, how we would hack you, but we were talking about rate limiting, and we learned really from an interesting idea. Did you know that if I have a bunch of possible passwords for people to log in, and I keep trying to log in with those passwords on like a Microsoft account, Microsoft will rate limit that IP address. Or you can get an IPv6 address and they will rate limit all of your IPv6 addresses, thousands and thousands of them, which means with IPv6, I get thousands and thousands of tries. So that's kind of been interesting from a security standpoint. I don't have a solution for that. If you're doing any IP-based rate limiting, IPv6 throws it out the window because you can get massive blocks of IPv6 and you can get them for cheap. You can get them spinning up a couple of hosts in some small hosting provider. And they're like, oh, would you like a large block of IPv6? Absolutely. Here's your one, all you're allowed IPv4, but here's your blocks of IPv6. And then you go, woo, woo, here we go. Let's go ahead and hammer away at passwords and get rate limited. Matter of fact, the rate limit would expire on the last IP addresses before we got to the end of them. So you could just keep it in a loop. And by the way, if you're wondering if there's tools out there for it, there sure are. They will do that for you. This is completely automated, by the way. IP4 address exhaustion as a feature, as a security feature. Yeah. Such is life. I don't know. I get it. If you're stuck behind CGNAT, you're yelling at the cloud going, can I have more IPs? And can everyone just move to IPv6 and solve all my problems? I get that. I feel bad, but that's unfortunately, you're not a business use case. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to say home users don't matter and Homelab users don't matter. I'm saying businesses don't care. and the business of the ISP world isn't going, why would I buy more IPs for you? Unless you're going to give me a lot more money. Oh yeah. Pretty much NAT is what NAT nailed the coffin. And NAT's only one piece of it. NAT solved you, the end user's problem. SNI solved the business problem. So the fact that in early days, I mean, the earliest days, if I recall, I remember, I think it was in the 90s when I first started learning about, how this worked. And I was like, oh, I need an IP address for each website because that's how it worked. And at least that was my understanding of it back then. And, then SNI came out and you could then not only get it is you have, if I'm not mistaken, in the earliest days, you had to tie a certificate to an IP address. That's not the case at all now. Certificates have nothing to do with the IP address. You use the server name indicator, the SNI, to know what site you're going to, and the server can listen and go, hey, what is the SNI? Oh, it's this? Cool. Here's a certificate that belongs to you. It works way different now. So that really solved those problems. And yeah. Yep. So yeah, the SNI and NAT killed IPv6. And here's someone else who is here back in the time that back when my hair wasn't gray, that says, yes, before SNI, it was all pain. And there's been it comes to the maturity of the stack. There's been a lot of, problems as related to IPv6 flaws that were found. I've told people you're reducing your threat surface. 1, because of IP rate limiting. 2, because many of these stacks have not been as well proven as they could be. So sometimes there's flaws found in them. That's a problem. Direct routing makes me squirmy. Oh, especially NAT is kind of a firewall, because if you don't poke holes in the NAT and do some, port forwards, kind of you end up with this default protected mode versus a default routed mode, depending on the configuration. I'm not saying it's going to automatically route IPv6, but some things might. And with these firewalls not being as mature, you can lead yourself into a problem. Before I wind this down, I don't know if this is worthy of a video, but let's pull it up here. Because this is a problem in general. And people ask me about Fortinet, what they do now. And I don't know if it's always worthy of a video, but I do want to bring this up because I want to make sure people understand what they did. And maybe that's why I should do a video on it. 17,000 compromised Fortinet appliances. That's actually not the problem. Shadow Server now shows 17,000 Fortinet devices via symbolic link backdoor, persist read-only access to sensitive config files only on devices that were already compromised, nothing fancy, just a leftover from older attacks. Now, what happened was when these Fortinets got infected, this is not a new problem, this is an old infection, but Fortinet, for reasons unclear to those of us with gray hair working in cybersecurity, decided not to clean up symlinks. Symlinks are a really old attack method. You leave a symlink so you can get in. And Fortinet didn't think to clean up symlinks. So once again, this is Florian Roth. If you're not familiar, VP of R&D and Nextron Systems, Florian is a well-respected security researcher and also great producer of memes. So like you said, these are not consumer routers. These are corporate edge boxes used in real-world networks, not some random Soho junk getting popped. These are footholds inside companies. Attackers used 0 days back in 2023 and 2024 to compromise devices. Once inside, they planted symlinks because that's what you do. You're worried your backdoor will get broken. Therefore, you install more backdoors. That's just a 101. It seems pretty logical from a threat actor standpoint. But Fortinet's response is not to tell security researchers this, not to let them know or be very transparent that this is going on and giving them a way to see that their systems could still be compromised. So Fortinet's response was a firmware upgrade that deletes a symlink, reset the passwords, private email server impacted, private email alerts to some impacted customers, but no IOC, no detection logic, no log sample, nothing useful for defenders to actually investigate their own thing. That's where Fortinet failed and fell on their face. That's why, I kind of said earlier, Fortinet's wearing clown shoes again. You let people know, you're very transparent. You're like, look, this is what happened. We didn't clean up the symlinks. Here's what to look for to know if you have been compromised. But they just said, here's a thing to clean it. Trust us, this time the thing that clean it will actually clean it. Can we validate that? Nope, you have to trust us. Yeah, you should tell the customers where those problems are. So I don't know why this is a thing that Fortinet's not being transparent about. This is just bad in terms of that. So I don't understand. And this is why I said, is it worthy of another video? I don't know. Maybe I've done already 2 videos on Fortinet. I don't really want to be the guy who just complains about Fortinet or any enterprise company all day, but I want to make sure people are clear and understand how these companies are behaving and why that's bad and why that's the way they shouldn't behave. That's kind of how I feel about Fortinet. Is FortiGear x86? I think so. I think all of it is. Why is Fortinet never learning to continuously failing the same way and people keep buying this stuff? Well, see, a reseller program is a hell of a drug. As long as these people are making a bunch of money reselling licenses, reselling the product, and that I've complained about these, I think reseller programs are as much as the problem as anything else, because this was an example I had. I was talking to a salesperson a while ago that hated the company he worked for. This is 4 or 5 years ago. They want to come. It was before Brett, so I'm pushing 8 years now. It's before Brett worked for me. He wanted to work for sales, but he worked for a large enterprise company, and I said I can't afford what they wanted to pay him. But he hated the fact that most of their product choices were more about the margin they made than the quality of the product. And I don't agree with that. That's one of the problems. You get so hung up on these going, well, I make a lot of money on this, so I have to sell it. But Fortinet's a terrible product. Well, look, man, you know how much my commissions are? And I know people that do very, very well. They do better than me just reselling Meraki. They sell massive amount. I remember a guy bragging about what he makes on all the school districts every year on it. Well, not every year, because he sells 5-year agreements, but just his cut of licensing money he makes on Meraki is, well, he was telling me this while standing next to his Lamborghini, but that's a thing. Fortinet does have their own ASIC chips. So they do have some very unique hardware, if you will. I don't know all the details of it. I've never taken a Fortinet apart to see what's different, but they're a big enough company that they could do better, but doing better would cut into profits, because if you do good enough and you're making money, why would you do better? That's kind of where they're at. Like, as long as people are buying it, they don't see a problem with their behavior. They're like, some Tom guy will complain. Some security researchers will call us names, and we'll sit on our yacht and sip some Mai Tais. That's honestly, as long as people keep buying it, all I can do is complain. I can't control what people buy. Yeah, I've always joked when people ask me for business advice, I'm a get rich slow scheme. Because doing what I do, I do quite well. I'm really not unhappy with my position in life, but also I joke about my business model being a get rich slow scheme. There's definitely reseller programs will make you more money than reselling UniFi. I charge for my labor on UniFi. I charge for the consulting time to help plan things for UniFi. I don't make margin on UniFi versus Meraki. You can charge for your planning and make money on that licensing. I guess it's a business model thing, and it's a philosophy thing. That's how it comes down to. Reselling Meraki 40 is not Lamborghini money, maybe from an entire school district. He was selling county level school districts, so in the millions. Pretty large scale. They did all the managed network is what they sell for some very large school districts. Several of them, matter of fact. They're a premium provider of managed network for school districts with Meraki. So yeah, it's not like they're selling small school. By the way, like, I've seen some of the Meraki bills. But full disclosure, like, I sold some expensive UniFi setups, and I couldn't believe what the Meraki bids were compared to UniFi. We did an entire district of replacement. The bill was right around $310,000, I think, right around there. It's in the $300,000 range. I have to pull up the old invoice on it to see, but it's a $300,000 project. The Meraki bids were over 400 something thousand. The Meraki bids were like, $100,000 extra to do the same thing with Meraki. They thought our bid was so low. I had to have a lot of discussion, because the Meraki people were all within 10 or 15% of each other, and everyone else bid Meraki. Like all the bids came in Meraki except for mine. And they knew I would be doing it completely different, because that's why they called me and put me on the bid list, is I was bidding something out of state. We did this in Wisconsin. I'm in Michigan, Detroit area. We bid this and won the bid and did the work in Wisconsin. Scale and scope of the work was worth us to send people out there, but it was just you're playing a different game with UniFi versus Meraki. We had travel time in there too, and that's part of what made our bid, we thought, high. We didn't think no one's going to pay to have us out there, but when no one else has bidding UniFi, and UniFi won, because UniFi, like, hey, even paying to have a crew come out, paying for hotels, paying for the drive out there, still made us less than the Meraki quote. Yeah, I think your margin on Meraki is like 30%, 30 or 40%. So, but you have the option to cut what you make on Meraki. So, like, their suggested MSRP versus what you pay as a reseller are very different things. And you can also cut into your reseller. I don't believe they force you into selling at MSRP. I would have to, we sell Meraki. I could find that out outside of scope of today's talk, because I haven't got time to do that. TrueNAS has never offered an ARM solution, so nothing happened to it. No one's wrote it, and I don't know that anyone is writing it. Not right now, at least. Maybe in the future. Yeah, if you sell a deal and you sell it on, let's say, a 3-year, as with the Meraki, most of the time, even at CNWR, we bid them as a 5-year. So a 5-year on Meraki, that way you don't have to address anything for 5 years. But some people might sell it only on a 3-year to make the cost a little bit better. But in 3 years, you don't need to replace the hardware. You just need to up the license, and that's just free money. If they renew the license, that's free money. Oh yeah, by the way, subscribe to the TrueNAS Tech Talk podcast. Great being able to first message them, engage with, and talk to the developers directly. They do a Q&A, they do a feedback, and they answer questions exactly like this one. So yeah, good looking out for that right there. I really like the fact that they're getting out there more, and I think that's really helpful to get the developers talking directly to the people of why they do the things they do. Because of course, when they do some things that are, as someone put it very clearly, I love breaking changes because it lets me know the product is moving forward. I hate when those breaking changes affect me though. And I get that. I don't like when breaking changes affect me, but I do like to see that we have to rip the Band-Aid off occasionally and go, we're going to have to break this to do it the right way, which means you're going to have to reset up a few things. That sucks, but it is what it is. I didn't like migrating from FreeBSD to Linux. Matter of fact, I held out as long as I could myself. Now, some of you are holding out longer than me. That's why I did that recent video about TrueNAS Core kind of being time to move on to TrueNAS Scale. But nonetheless, I will leave all of you with that because I'm going to wind it down here. I am hungry. I need to eat. I did not eat beforehand. And I had a rant about this earlier. So either A, watch it's in the first 10 minutes of this particular episode. Also, I have a separate video on it, but I do watch the first 10 minutes of this and I have that question answered. And maybe I'll even go ride a motorcycle today, depending on what I want to do. Oh, by the way, I'll throw this out here because I've been gaining new friends. Let's get very clear. Tom did not add anything to the website. Tom has the genius in the back end, Matt, doing things to the website, and we have my Steam on there. So the Steam link for anyone who wants to become friends with me is down at the bottom on my site. I've been playing more games. I do like engaging with people. And of course, the forums is a great place for technical engagement. But if people are wondering about, does Tom play any games? Occasionally Tom plays games. And I added my Steam link to make it easy to find because why not? And for anyone wondering, yes, I go by Meth Pig. So I've got 31 hours of this game. Wow. I've been playing Insurgency. I just started only an hour into Outer Wilds, which is kind of neat. But so far, those are only games I've been playing recently. I'll probably play some more. But if there's some game you want to, I don't know. The LTS Twitch, maybe there could be a future for that. Right now, no. But Tom is terrible at games. So there's that. I'll play them, not because I'm good at them, but because I enjoy them. So there is that. Someone said what motorcycle? I love that question because I get to share a picture of my Honda. That motorcycle. I might set up some gaming servers. That is on my list to set up and host some gaming servers. My son would like to do that, so yes. Yeah. No, when I was younger, I was really good at games. I like beating people. I play a lot of team stuff, but now I do not beat people. I am the beaten one. So, yeah, that's the new Honda Trail 125. So yeah, it is. Someone called it my battle scooter, and I thought that was funny. So we'll go with battle scooter. It's a cute little. It's only 125 cc's. I like to take it places. So it's got a drink holder because when you're an old man like me, you get thirsty while you're riding. So I got my little drink holder on it. And I just go bounce around riding out in the woods. That's the bike I used to have. I got sick of riding really big motorcycles. I rode a lot of large motorcycles. I used to ride, my friends all had like the BMWs. And you know what sucks about big motorcycles? They fall over and we will take pictures of you laying on your bike. So that's why the 125 motorcycle is probably, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds. But my other motorcycle, this one weighed 600 pounds. So this is a very different one. Yeah, I've owned Ninjas. I don't really have any street bikes. Well, no, I take that back. Do I have a picture of it? No, I do not. I do own a Piaggio as well. Piaggio scooter. So technically is classified in Michigan as a motorcycle. That's one of those people will debate it. But I take this little Honda all over the place. It's my new favorite little toy. I've got a lot of miles. I only bought it a little while back, but it's got a lot of miles on it. Well, not a lot. It's got like 3,000. So anyways, I'll stop here because I'm just wandering around off topic. Feel free to engage me, homelab@lawrencesystems.com. Head over to lawrencesystems.com for any of the socials. Friend me on Steam. I'm always open to suggestions for new games and things like that. I've seen someone ask for this. So yeah. Absolutely love talking to all of you, but I'm going to go grab some food and go have some fun. So later, folks.